I'm Rachel, welcome to my channel. This is an unscheduled video, but I felt it was quite important to do it, especially since I do pattern reviews. So news has broken in the last few days that the big four pattern companies have been sold to a liquidator. Quite shocking news for me, being a big fan of the big four. For as long as I can remember. So they've basically been sold to a liquidator. The brands were most recently owned by the IG Design Group, who are a UK-based company, and they made an announcement that they have sold its US division, the IG Design Group Americas, to Hilco Capital. Now, the big four were part of the IG Design Group America, so I'm reading my notes because I want to make sure I'm accurate here. And incidentally, Hilco were the company who were apparently also involved in the liquidation, partly of Joann's, I understand. And Hilco, I had a look at their website. They deal in special situations investment. Essentially, they're liquidators. I've attached some links for you to read about this. There's a really good piece written by Abby Glassenberg on the Craft Industry Alliance. I've actually printed it out, entitled Parent Company of the Big Four Sewing Pattern Brands Sold to a Liquidator. It was published on the 5th, so only a few days ago, and there's also a thread with people's reactions there as well, so quite interesting to read. And then also, this is something that's in the public domain. It's a statement published by the IG Design Group PLC concerning their disposal of DG Americas, and it goes into a bit of detail about the rationale behind it, basically, and obviously clearly it is financial. And rather than read everything to you, I think it's probably better that you read those pieces of information yourself. It will be more accurate, and you'll probably be able to understand it far more easily. But they have cited a softening of the market, and tariffs as well. And the other thing, I think the demise of Joann's is probably significant because I imagine, were one of their biggest customers. So a whole load of things have contributed to this. And I'm really shocked about this. I don't think anybody knows. Well, I don't think there's any information about what the future holds for these brands. I suppose we've just got to wait and see. But I thought I'd jump on here and I would talk about it because, ironically, I spent a lot of time in the last couple of weeks on the Sew Direct website, which is the UK website for those four big brands. Especially since I've just done a review on Vogue Patterns, which you may have seen a couple of weeks ago, and it's all about my current favourites that they're selling, and also my collection, my stash of old Vogue patterns, specifically designer patterns like the Calvin Klein and the Uzumaki styles. And I got a lot of feedback from that, and I think there's a lot of love for those old patterns, which they don't do anymore, which you can get on the second-hand market. And I did actually, incidentally, have a real splurge on the Sew Direct website. I bought 9 patterns. I did get a discount on this, and you can too. I'm not sponsored, I'm just telling you. I bought 9 patterns and 1 PDF digital pattern as well, and I'm going to show them to you at the end and have a little chat about those. But before that, I wanted to talk just a tiny bit about the history of the big four, and then I'm going to talk about what maybe will happen next, because nobody knows, and I'll show you those patterns that I bought. So it's really interesting. I mean, there's loads and loads and loads of information. There's a Wikipedia page that you can find on the history of sewing patterns, and also on each of the big four. I'm going to put links down below so you can have a deep dive yourself. I'm not going to go into too much detail, so this this is, I feel it's a little bit superficial, but I just really wanted to get this video out. I mean, I may well do something more in depth at a later date, because it's really interesting. So I'm going to start talking about Butterick. So for our purposes today, the four big pattern companies at Butterick, McCall's, Simplicity and Vogue in no particular order. Butterick was founded in 1867 by Ebenezer Butterick. And now he started, this is kind of, there's a bit of a pattern here, no pun intended. Started off publishing a magazine, firstly the Ladies' Quarterly and then the Metropolitan, and then merged them into this magazine called the Delineator, which is basically a marketing tool for their mail order patterns. So bear in mind, started in 1867, and by 1876, 9 years later, they were selling worldwide, which is amazing, really, incredible. And in 1903, they built the Butterick Building, which I think is on 6th Avenue in New York, which I believe is still there. And in 1961, they licensed the Vogue Patterns trademark from Condé Nast. More about Vogue Patterns in a little while. So in a nutshell, that's kind of how Butterick started. Simplicity, in a similar way, started in 1927 in New York in the Great Depression, and brought sewing patterns to the masses. And Simplicity also, New Look were also patterns were part of Simplicity as well. So that's linked there, Simplicity and New Look. And then you've got McCall's, founded in 1870 by Scottish tailor James McCall in New York. And again, he published a magazine, I guess in a similar way to Butterick. I mean, it's like marketing, isn't it? And by 1932, all their pattern covers had full colour illustrations. And in the 30s and 40s, McCall's actually did Paris designer originals. And so they were a bit ahead of Vogue on that, I understand. But I'm sure there are people out there who are absolute experts on vintage patterns. So do chip in below. Vogue began in 1899 as a spin-off of a magazine pattern feature in Vogue. 1909, Condé Nast bought Vogue, and the Vogue Pattern Company was founded in 1914. By 1916, the patterns were being sold in stores, and as I said earlier, in 1961, the trademark was bought by Butterick. So those are the big four pattern companies in a nutshell, and over the years, especially most recently, they've been owned by different people, and they eventually became part of one entity. Personally, I grew up learning to sew with tissue printed patterns from the big four, specifically Vogue patterns, which I absolutely love. So they have a special place in my heart. But beyond that, there's also a lot of heritage there, and I know you can't hold on to things just to be sentimental, but there's an awful lot of history. I mean, I imagine in the Great Depression and in the years of the war, in the Second World War especially, sewing patterns would have been a really important source for people, and also there was a time when you couldn't buy mass-produced clothes, and you actually had to make your own clothes. So when these new patterns came along, sort of over 100 years ago, can you imagine? It must have been great. It must have been quite revolutionary. I would be really sad if the big four are no longer. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think there's no word as to what's going to happen with them. It would be really sad if we didn't have these historic brands, and I really, really hope that somebody can see the value in them. I mean, I know any business has got to stack up financially. I know that. I've run my own very tiny business. I do get that. But they must have vast archives as well. Those archives must be somewhere. I really hope there's somebody who can fly the flag for these big brands, and they keep going. Whether they take them into the 21st century, you know, and they're accessible by using PDFs or by projector patterns. You know, you have to look forward all the time. But just, to me, there's so much history there. It just would make me really, really sad if they were no longer. So I really want to know what you will think. You might have information that I haven't come across when I did my little bit of research today. By the time this comes out, maybe, you know, there's other information online. Who knows? Let's hope they keep going. But I really, really want to know what you will think. You usually tell me exactly what you think, which is much appreciated. Okay, so as I said, I did have a bit of a splurge. So these are the 9 paper patterns that I bought very recently from So Direct. So they're a mix of patterns here. I'm going to do a vintage dress features quite soon. So this one, the B6318 from Butterick, it's an easy pattern. It's got this beautiful full skirt and wrap waist and zip back. So that was my first. Second, this is vintage 90s. It comes to something when you have to buy a vintage pattern, and the 90s were like your formative years. So it makes me feel, I mean, ancient. So this is a 3-hour sarong dress from McCall's, the M8501, and I have got some snakeskin print that I'm going to make this one in, which I think will be quite cool. Okay, this one is a vintage Vogue pattern, and I did talk about this in my recent Vogue patterns video, the V9189, and you have got a slim trouser and ankle length to a short. So I am most definitely going to be toiling that shape and hopefully making a few variations for the summer. This is not very exciting, but I need a new dressing gown, so I bought this Butterick pattern, which is a classic sort of kimono wrap dressing gown shape, the B7047, but I do hope to make it in Liberty print to make it a bit special. I want to make some coordinates. I want to make a waistcoat and wide trouser, and this was just a really, really nice 2-piece. The B6901 from Butterick, and you've got this button through waistband with a tie at the back to make it adjustable, and a really lovely wide leg trouser. Mimi G Simplicity. I featured this, I think, in my jersey dress video. The S3069 can be anything from a vest to a mini dress to a maxi or midi dress. So I think that's a great one, a really useful one. I've got a couple of dresses like this, and I could probably really easily cut a pattern off them, but this version has got the border paneling as well, and sometimes it's just easier to use a ready-made pattern. McCall's M7402. I'm going to make some dresses for the summer out of that pattern. And then this is a McCall's pattern that I featured in my shirt dress video a few months ago, M8286, and it's a sleeveless, short sleeve or long sleeve, a couple of different lengths, and it's got this fab tie detail feature at the front. And last but not least, I have talked about this one before. I think I talked about it in my shirt dress video, although it's not strictly a shirt dress. V1239. It's an advanced. Does it say advanced? It is definitely advanced. It's quite a complicated one. So it's the Ralph Ricci sort of wrap shirt dress. Loosely call it a shirt dress. Anyway, I've always loved it. It's not new, but I splurged on that as well. So those are my recent purchases. So yeah, so strange news about the 4 big pattern companies. I mean, maybe you won't be surprised. I suppose, you know, things have changed. You know, I would like to think the demand is there. I mean, there are so many, you know, channels like mine on YouTube, and sewers and makers and designers promoting the whole idea of making your own clothes and trying to fly the flag for it. I really hope that they keep going. Anyway, please, please, please give me your feedback on this topic, and we can get a bit of discussion going in the comments, and I will see you next week. Bye.